Hi everybody, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. It is Monday, August 5th. I apologize, I know I'm a few minutes late tonight, but better late than never. Again, Monday, August 5th. My name's Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. I have been making cards for about 30 years. Using all sorts of different techniques, but probably for the last 12-15 years I've been working exclusively with Stampin' Up! Products. And I am so grateful that you took time out of your schedule tonight to watch my video. My goal with my card making is simply to spread joy one card at a time. And I hope to achieve that both in showing people how to make cards and finding that creativity in them. I know that sometimes we feel like we don't have any of those creative powers, and I want to be able to show people that yes, you do. I felt that way for a long time, and I quickly learned. You've got my cat here walking in the background. She is checking everything out tonight. I'm thinking may join us for a little bit here, and we'll just sort of go with the flow with her. Anyhow, I am very grateful that you took time to join me. And like I said, my goal is to show or spread that joy one card at a time, simply by sharing with you how to make cards or encouraging you to make those cards and give them to someone else to bring a little spark of joy into their life as well. So that's what I can say about my card making. I hope everybody had a great week. We had a baptism on Sunday, celebrated our anniversary, and started some of our fall canning process, even though it's still just early August. My husband got about 13 quarts of spaghetti sauce made, and I made some dill pickles. So we, like I said, got a little bit of a start. I don't know how much more we'll do, but hopefully we can get just a little bit more done on that. So I am going to show you a couple cards tonight featuring a stamp set that I haven't used in a while. And I'm just looking for a couple things so I can finish getting set up here. I apologize for that. It is the Fluffiest Friends Stamps and Dies, and this is one that is available to everybody through an online exclusive. So that just means that the only place you can find it is online at the Stampin' Up! Website. And it includes both stamps and dies. And you know how sometimes you get dies and it's really hard to line them up? I have found with this set that it is very, very easy for me to line my stamps up with, or to line my dies up with my stamped image. And so that makes it a set that I do like doing. And then to make it a little more exciting, I'm also using a designer series paper that is available in the annual catalog. And it is the Full of Life Designer Series paper. And I'm going to be honest with you, when this paper first came out, I'm kind of like, do I like it? Don't I like it? Do I? Don't I? Do I want to get it? Don't I want to get it? And I have decided that I do like it, and I did get it. And I think you're going to see when I use that, I keep looking over there because that's where my paper is. You can't see that, but anyhow, that's what I'm doing when I'm looking off that direction. I think when you see this, you're going to find that this paper is very well named, Full of Life. It's a really bright and cheery paper. And right now, at least here in Minnesota, we have had rain all day. When my daughter checked the rain gauge this morning, we already had 1.5 inches of rain, and we've had a pretty steady rainfall all day. So a little dark and gloomy. So I thought this paper was a great one to start using tonight too, just to brighten things up a little bit. So let me go ahead and flip my camera over. I apologize for shaking, seeing the ceiling or my messy desk, but that's how it goes. And so I'm going to get you connected. We'll get my cord hopefully out of the way. And I apologize, it does look like things are freezing up here and there a little bit for me. When I first came down to my studio area to do some work, I actually had lights that were flickering, so I was a little concerned I was even going to be able to maintain power for my presentation, but the flickering part seems to have stopped. It actually would have been kind of a surprise if I'd lost power, because I don't normally do that, but I was a little concerned. So let me start by showing you again the dies and the stamp set that I'm using. Fluffiest Friends is the stamp set, and it includes all these really cute animals. This particular stamp could either be a bird's nest, and you could put some of these little birds in it, or if you flip it upside down, it could become a beaver den, and you can use it with this one. So that is kind of what I'm going to be doing tonight, is using those two. And then it does have coordinating dies for all of the animals, as well as that nest or beaver dam, I guess. And then it also includes a beehive and a twig, and then some leaf images. I kind of think you could turn these two into little hearts as well, sort of modern looking. And then it's got a couple extra balloons too. So that takes care of the stamp set. And then let me show you this Full of Life Designer Series paper. To start with, and I think you'll get why the name is Full of Life, it coordinates with so many different colors of cardstock. This is Shy Shamrock, Shaded Spruce, Pretty in Pink, Petunia Pop, Melon Mambo, and I apologize, it looks like my cord here is cast in a bit of a shadow. I'm going to see if I can get rid of that off my paper. Oh, that helped. Lemon Lime Twist, Granny Apple Green, Blueberry Bushel. I'm testing my color knowledge here. This is Berry Burst, and you know what? I think I grabbed the wrong color of blue. Nope, I didn't. Balmy Blue, Daffodil Delight, Crushed Curry, Real Red, and Pumpkin Pie, as well as Coastal Cabana. And then, of course, Basic White is kind of the underlying theme. So there's like 15 or 16 different colors of cardstock that this coordinates with. So that's always good when you've got that opportunity to do a lot. But let me show you the paper. And I'm going to pull that out of the way just so it's not distracting us. It includes, excuse me a minute here, maybe one of the things that might help my shadow too is to get just a little more light shining here. So it includes this geometric design in shades of blues and purples, as well as greens, yellows, oranges. And then it's got this cute little dot pattern, and it's got a cute little big dot pattern, or cute big pattern of dots. And then there's another one of these geometric patterns, but it's more like paint sample swatches or something. Green tones, and then the oranges and red tones that it coordinates with. And then it's got three sets of these geometric squares. And you've got these little ones that capture all the colors, and then these two larger sizes that have a slightly different color palette to them. And then you've got these starbursts in 3 different colors. The rainbow one, the blue and purple tones, and then kind of the green tones in this. And as I was reading through and watching how to maybe cut some of this to maximize it, one of the things that Brian King, who's another demonstrator, pointed out is our paper here is 6 by 6. So you can always create a perfect square and keep the starburst in the center by figuring out what size square you want. If you want a 4 by 4 square, you need to reduce it by a total of 2 inches on both sides. So take off an inch, an inch, an inch, and an inch, and you're going to have 4 by 4 left over with that center thing. If you wanted to have it be 5 by 5, then you'd take off half an inch on each side. You know, 3 by 3, you can just figure out what is left over and cut that much off. If you cut it right down the middle, you're going to have that starburst in the front. There's lots of different ways that you can use that starburst design, and then you just need to kind of cut around and coordinate with that. I also want to show you the back side of this paper, because in some ways this is what finally convinced me to get the paper. Although tonight I'm only going to be using what I call the A side of the paper. So you've got just kind of this, it almost looks like you took your ink pad and stroked it across the paper. Kind of the blue and pink tone. This is going to be more your orange tones with the Melon Mambo. And here's that beautiful rainbow type effect. And then there's a couple, this one with the watercolor. I think there's a couple that are more watercolory looking, or that alcohol painting. A diagonal with all those bright colors. Another diagonal just featuring the red base tones. Thinner rainbow stripes. Here's another one of kind of the alcohol look. Just featuring the pink tones with a little bit of that yellow in here. Here we've got the blue tones, green tones, where it looks like you've kind of swiped your ink pad all over of that alcohol painting look. And then this is just kind of the blue and pink tones of that. And then we've got this pretty ombre effect with our blues going into the greens. So these would make really great background designs. Tonight I've just made a couple different cards for you that are going to show you the versatility of the stamp set, or excuse me, of the paper, all depending on how you cut it. This first one is a birthday card using the little raccoon from the Fluffiest Friends stamp set. And I've just used that geometric paper, and honestly I just tried to line up the white edges as best I could. It's not completely perfect if you're looking at it real close, but it is enough to give you that geometric look and a white border all the way around this particular layer. And then I just used one of our punches to stamp that out. I did this on dimensionals and put a little bit of happy birthday. That happy birthday comes from another online exclusive stamp set called Choose Happy, and it includes just these words. They're all fairly small in the font size, and then they've got these cute stamps to go with it. So they've got the pumpkin, you could put a pumpkin face on it. The sunshine could have a little smiley face. You know, you could put a little heart and put the word love in there if you wanted to do that. So just a lot of fun little stamps to go with it. And none of these images are super big. So they're going to do great to enhance a card. So anyhow, that's where the happy birthday came from. And that's just got a plain, when I get it in there, it's just going to be a plain inside. This is one of those where you can do a little bit with your stamping and let the paper kind of speak for itself. And then the second card I made was using that Starburst and Blueberry Bushel. And I just used, again, 2 stamps from here that just says Choose Happy. And I used the cute little kitty from the Fluffiest Friends. And I didn't even color it a whole lot. I used blends to shade in my pot and then create the flower using a couple blend pens. And I just realized I didn't color in the center of the flower, so we're going to add a little yellow to that. And you know, what would a cute flower like this be without just a little bit of, whoops, Wink of Stella. It's not opening up the way I'm expecting it to, so we're going to add just a titch of sparkle to the card. And I chose not to color the cat in a whole lot because I wanted that flower to be the focal point of what we were looking at today. To figure out why that's opening that way. So again, just a very simple card using that Choose Happy. And then the card we're going to make today is going to feature pumpkin pie and this piece of designer series paper. This is actually front and back, and this is kind of a basic card. I haven't made one like this in a while, but it's a kind of a go-to. It's a good layout to have if you're kind of stumped and you want to use different colors and offset and see how they go together. So the card pieces are very simple: 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And again, this is pumpkin pie. And then I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, and I played with my measurements a little bit, so I honestly don't know what they ended up being as I was cutting. This is 5 1/4 by 3 1/4. And then I've got 2 pieces of designer series paper here, and these both measure about 5 by 1 3/4. And what I was trying to do is make sure I could get even borders going like this, not caring so much about the center because I'm going to be putting a piece of ribbon there to sort of tie the 2 pieces together. And then I've got the cute little beaver and the beaver dam. So we're going to start by coloring these using our blends pens. And I stamped these in Memento ink. Memento ink is a water-based ink, whereas our blends pens are an alcohol-based paint. And so you always want to use the opposite color just to avoid creating smears or anything like that. So I've got a basic black blends pen that I'm using to color the tail. That funny noise in the background is just the cat chirping away and climbing her pole. And she'll be just fine. I think I'm going to make his nose just a little blacker so it stands out, and I'm going to color his eyes too. All right. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to actually do my soft suede pens to color in the beaver. And then for this, I'm going to use, these are some of the skin tone pens that we have. And I'm just going to use its number SU 500. And, oh, Zelda, let's not scratch the window. Thank you. She's really bad right now about scratching on my screens. And so I'm just taking the blends and going in and filling the sticks. And I'm pretty much using the straight edge, or the, excuse me, narrow tip. I'm not being too concerned right now if I, knock it off, cat. If I go outside of the sticks, just because it isn't going to show in the end. The beaver dams are usually pretty thick and they become watertight, so it could be mud that you're seeing in between. I just wanted to add color. And you could easily color this in using a blending brush and your watercolor pencils, or excuse me, a blender pen and your watercolor pencils. Or you could also do using one of the water painters and dipping it into the lid of your pen. I think I'm getting a little bit more control doing it this way. But like I said, it doesn't really matter if you go off the sticks a little bit, because that could be the mud that's kind of packing everything together. And then as long as we're doing this, actually I'm going to do that heart in red. I know that's not a typical stick color, but that's what I'm going to do. Just because it can kind of be heart themed. It's a card. Our colors don't have to be perfect. Sometimes it's good to go a little crazy, huh? Okay. So there's that heart, which is just going to stand out a little bit. And I noticed I missed his little black hands here, so I'm going to come back and color those in real quick. And then we'll come back in, and again, I'm using my soft suede. And so one of the things that I look at is when I'm coloring, I'm going to start with my darker. You can go either way. I choose to start with my darker because I kind of follow the hints that Stampin' Up! Has given me, and start by shading in along all of the dark lines. because to me, in my brain, those are going to be darker spots just by shading and that type of thing. I could be way off base. So I'm just going to kind of go around like that. And then I'm going to grab my lighter shade of soft suede, the light. And excuse me, this is actually pecan pie, not soft suede. So forgive me for that. Either of them will work. And I'm just going to come back in. Now, I started with this fine tip, but because I'm working in such a large area, I am going to go to the wide tip. I think that gives me less lines in my finished product when I do that. And I will go over where I've already colored. That's going to kind of enhance and smooth out the blending of the pieces. Oh, you know what, Zelda? Yeah, you can go. Okay. For me, that's just how I prefer to do it. I think everybody's kind of got their own coloring techniques. But I like to start from the outside and work my way in. Maybe it's because I like doing puzzles and I always start putting the outside piece together first and then move in to do the center. Who knows? Who else likes to color? I find it to be very soothing to come in and do this. I enjoy projects where I can color it. And that's all I'm going to do with this guy. It doesn't require a whole lot of color, but I think it doesn't hurt to spread it out just a little bit. And for this, I think I'm going to come in actually with a really light, this is soft seafoam. And yeah, we still have that color, right? Yeah, we do. Great. So I'm going to come in, and I just broke one of my rules, which is not opening my blends up over my projects in case a little bit of the alcohol splashes out. So I'm going to come in, again, it's a very soft green, but I'm going to fill in that background just a little bit. And now I am just coloring over everything. I think that gives it a softer, better look than just that brown that I had on there. All right, so that covers our coloring. That part is pretty simple. The second thing I need to do is stamp my sentiment on the inside. This happens to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and that's what I'm going to use on the inside of my card, primarily because as I was cutting stuff, I miscut, and this will work just fine for the inside of a card. And for this sentiment, I'm actually using the Happy Birthday, Let's Celebrate stamps from the Simply Said stamp set. This is another online exclusive, and they are all photopolymer stamps, but they're great greetings. You've seen me use birthday wishes a lot. So today I'm expanding my horizons, and I'm going to use these two stamps. And I think from a color perspective, let's see, I might just use black to make it pop out just a little bit from the orange on here. So I'm going to have this card running this way on my paper, so I need to make sure that when I'm stamping my sentiments, I am doing it the correct direction. So to start with, on the inside of my card, and I've kind of lost that block, it's over here, I'm going to do the Let's Celebrate. Now sometimes when you put these stamps on blocks, they can curve a little bit, so a little trick to get around that is if you just set it down on your work surface, it's pretty much going to go down straight, and then you can bring your block onto the stamp, and that should get it to lay out straight for you. Another little trick that I will tell you, because sometimes the black ink can stain your stamps, and so if you don't want that, just go ahead and stamp it in a little bit of your Versamark ink, and that'll coat your stamp and make it clean up just a little bit better here. And so we'll go Let's Celebrate, and that's just going to go in the center of our card, just like that. And I will set that aside to dry. And then the other tip is when you are using black inks or even red inks, that Versamark trick will work. Also clean it off right away. It's going to maybe discolor it a little bit, but I have found I don't really mind that because it helps me stamp a little more. It helps me see the stamp better, so I can actually stamp slightly better images sometimes when I do that. And then I'm just going to dig out a narrow piece of scrap from my basic white scrap bin. I'm actually going to go with that one. It's a little bit wider. And for that, I'm going to stamp my happy birthday. So again, I will stamp it in my Versamark and then ink it up in my Memento ink. And I'm going to stamp this one kind of right here. And then let me cover up my ink pads. I'll clean this off real quick. And then I want to have about the same amount of space here as I've got here. So I'm just going to grab my paper snips and cut off a chunk like that. I'm not too concerned if it's really perfectly straight or not, because I am going to notch it and make a banner out of it. So a quick tip is if you just cut it in the center up a little bit like I just did, and then you can angle up and create a banner. It's not exactly centered on that end, that's all right. And then I'll repeat the same over here. And just trim it that way, and then you end up with kind of a banner. And look what I did. I smeared my happy birthday. Good thing I've got a backside. This is why I always like to stamp my images at the beginning so that they can dry completely before I start assembling. And what I should have done is let that dry a little bit before I started cutting it. But that's okay. There we go. Versamark and the Memento. Get those out of the way, and then I'm going to set that out of the way so it can finish drying. And then we will assemble the front of the card. There are so many possibilities and layouts that you can do with this paper. It really is a fun, if you're feeling a little bit down, pull this paper out. I promise it'll cheer you up. All right, so then I am going to grab my adhesive, and I'm going to start by putting this on the top part of the card. And again, I am most concerned that I have even spacing on these three sides. I'm less concerned about what's happening in the middle of my card because I can cover that up. And that is pretty even. And again, with this layout, if it's not quite even, it's okay, because again, as long as you've got smooth edges at the top and the bottom, we can cover up anything that happens in the middle there. And that's one thing that's really nice about this paper is the front and back complement so nicely. So we're just going to add those pieces. And now I'm going to take some of the frayed gross grain ribbon, and I'm not even going to tie a bow. I'm just simply going to cut some off and wrap it around the card. That is a great way to save on adhesive if you're running short of something, is just do a wrap. And then because I am really trying to keep this card simple, I will add a little faux bow to the front because that's a great cheat, and it also helps save, again, some of the ribbon. It doesn't use quite as much as a real bow would make. And then I'm just going to center this going around the card and flip it over. And because I put adhesive here, it's automatically going to stick. And I'll just trim a little bit of the extra off. And then to do the faux bow, all I'm going to do is take a little piece and simply tie it. And so I can trim off that. And we're just going to put it in a little knot. Sure, we're just going to put it in a little knot. Might work better if I actually got it tied. And so now we've got a little faux bow, and we can cut this at an angle, which may help with some of the fraying. We'll shorten that up a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add our beaver dam. And I'm going to pop both of these up onto dimensionals just so it stands out a little bit more. And of course, when I say I'm going to do that, I need to now find where I put my dimensionals. Some nights I struggle more than other nights to keep track of things. I'm going to start by putting the beaver on first. And that's because I want his feet kind of tucked behind the dam. And so we'll put him up here. And then I'll put some dimensionals like that. And we'll stick that right there. And then we will take the happy birthday banner that we created. And again, I'm going to put that on dimensionals, but I am going to put those closer to the bottom. And the reason for that is this top part is going to be just over the bottom of the beaver dam. And so I want to make sure I don't have dimensionals that'll raise it up even higher in that area. All right. And there we go. We've got a happy birthday. And again, because we are dealing with a happy little card, I think we need a little bit of sparkle from our whimsical. And so let's go ahead and add whimsical to the heart. And then that'll sparkle just a little bit. All right, so here are 3 quick cards that I made. This one is nearly done, but you can tell it didn't take a whole lot of time to make. So we'll fold this, burnish it with the bone folder, get rid of that stuff. You could see what my desk looks like in the area around what the camera is showing. I don't think you'd be surprised that I'm having some problems finding things. Ooh, and I just dropped my Memento ink on the floor. And fortunately, it stayed covered. All right, so we've got our Let's Celebrate on the inside. And if you had a scrap of that designer paper, you could easily decorate the inside of your card too and just add a little bit more color. I didn't cut anything, and I'm not going to take the time to do that right now, but that'd be a great way to dress up the inside of your card. And then we're just going to add this layer to the front. Now, I know that my card is not proportionately the same, this layer, as the base card is, and I'm okay with that. That was done intentionally. It doesn't always have to be perfectly where it needs to go. It just helps pop it a little bit sometimes, I think, when it's not always true to form on that. And then another thing that you could do with this paper that I think makes it such great paper is if you take your envelopes and you could decorate with the piece that you cut off, you could decorate your envelope so easily. And I'll show you how to do that real quick too. And that way it would then match perhaps the inside of your card. So I could, oh, that isn't going to quite fit because that is not big enough. That's all right. We will grab one piece of that. So we could go this way and it would pick up all the colors, or we could do it with the dots. And I think I'm kind of feeling like the dots tonight. So generally what I will do when I'm making this is I know the width of my envelope is going to be 5 3/4, and then the flap is typically 2 1/4. So I'm going to cut a 6 by 3 inch piece of paper here. And that gives me a little bit to trim off. I do want to make sure when I'm cutting it that I'm cutting it so that my remaining piece will have all the colors on the back so that I have the ability to use it either on this side or this side, and I haven't cut any of the colors off. Does that make sense? Whoops, sorry about that. And then I prefer to use my liquid glue when I'm decorating an envelope. And so I'm just going to smear some. I do like to make sure I'm getting it all along the edge, just so it doesn't get caught in postage meter machines. And I'll just glue it down like that. And then I'm going to take this and put it right up to, but not covering the score line for the flap. And I'll rub it down just like that. And then you can come back with your paper snips and just follow the envelope flap and trim it off. So how fun would it be to get this bright card with a matching envelope? That could be kind of a little surprise inside. If it's a little uneven, that's okay. It may be over just a teeny bit. If you're picky about that, you can always come back in and trim that off. Just like that, or you can leave it. And then fold it down, and now you've got a cute little matching envelope to go with your card. And that doesn't take very long, and it's a great way to show off our gorgeous designer series paper before you even start your card. So I hope you enjoyed seeing these cards, and I thank you for taking the time to join me tonight. And we will see you next week with a new Make It Monday and card design. Take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.